webinar in. We are several European partners in several European countries doing an Erasmus project, which is called Setting Up a Learning Platform for Access to Land. And this is pretty much the thing we are doing. We are all in the sphere working of access to land, providing land for agroecology, for small-scale farming. And we work together in this project to build up a learning platform so that other organizations can do the same thing, even better than we do, hopefully. Because there's a lot land to be secured in the next years. And this is kind of our vision, that we can help people learn how to secure land. I will leave it like this for now. I'm in the middle of Germany, or north middle of Germany, and I work for a little research institute called the Agronauten. All the technical things I will say after our little round here.
Okay, maybe pass on to Clara.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Clara and I come from the Nature Conservation Network in Catalonia. We are a second level entity and our work is around nature conservation and land stewardship, although we also see an overlapping section with access to land for agroecology. And I pass on to Petra.
Hi everyone, I'm Petra, I'm from Belgium. I'm in Antwerp at this moment, although you might think I'm at the Spanish coast. I work for the Kulturland-Genossenschaft, which is an organization that is buying agricultural land to secure it for organic agriculture. And I pass the words to, I think there's someone from my country, Ingrid Pauwels. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not Ingrid, I'm Evert. I'm the colleague of Petra. And I'm very interested in this webinar also. And I don't know why the name Ingrid Pauwels got on my screen. So I also work for the Landgenoten. I organize and support the crowdfunding campaigns. And I pass the word to Martin.
Is this me? I'm Martin Rosenbaum from Czech Republic. I'm a farmer and I do collaborate with organization AMPI and Foundation for the Soil. And we are on a small farm doing vegetables, CSA with horses. And I'm here because Thomas invited me to share our experience with our little crowdfunding campaign we had a year ago. So this is what I'm here. And yes, this will be my introduction. And I can pass the word to Dana, I guess.
Sorry, did you say Dana? I guess that's me. So I'm Romanian. I live in Dublin, though, in Ireland. I don't own any kind of land. In fact, I live in a block of flats. So I'm really desperate to get my hands on some land and grow some food for myself and other people. And how about asking Ronan to speak next?
Thanks, Dana. I'm Ronan. I'm a campaigner or public relations, someone who's worked in public relations, then became a campaigner with Occupy London, various social, environmental stuff. Most recently, helped to launch Extinction Rebellion in the UK before it went global. I'm very interested in access to land. I'm very lucky. I've inherited my family farm, but I'm also looking at how to share the farm out and work with others. And yeah, I think it's going to be a huge move to the land. So this topic is very interesting about how to get money for people that need it. Passing on to Everett.
I already went. So, Tony?
Yes, hi. I am Tony Garulla, responsible for communication and fundraising at JPEG. I am interested to learn from fundraising and crowdfunding for acquisition of agricultural for the Millennium Olive Conservation Project in Catalonia.
Okay, you want to, then I'll pass on to Alena.
Hello from Prague. My name is Alena. I also work in AMPI. This is Association of Local Food Initiative, and we are not farmers. We support small-scale farmers. And for this year, we prepared some campaign about CSA networking and supporting. So that's my role. And I pass the word to Tom Stebart.
Hi, I'm Tom. I'm based in the west of Ireland in Galway. I'm involved in two cooperatives here. One is Green Restoration Ireland, which is largely around saving peatland and results-based payments for farmers, and Untitled, which is mostly involved in healthcare and art. And I'm here because a number of us have been trying to develop the community land trust agroecological model here in Ireland. So we're very interested in approaches around crowdsourcing the purchase of land. And I pass the word to Kike Molina.
Thanks, Tom. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kike Molina. I live in a small town in Catalonia. I'm an environmentalist scientist working in an environmentalist nonprofit. I'm very interested in agroecology. I've studied a master in agroecology in Andalusia. And I'm very interested in this workshop for advisory to other people, and also because I would like to start an extensive livestock project eventually. So thanks to all the people behind this workshop. And I have to apologize because I may have to leave before 5 because I have another meeting, but it's a pleasure to be here. And I don't know if Casa Leonardo has spoken.
Hello, I'm the president of a little association in the Pyrenees of Catalonia, and we work to mix tourism and land. And we have a little crowdfunding website named Gratitude Payars, and it's very interesting, your project, and it's for this I stay here. Thank you.
Okay, then I would pass on to Eamon.
Hi all, my name is Evan here from Ireland, working together with the Irish Regenerative Land Trust, which is aiming to build land access support for new entrants in Ireland. And I also work together with Tom, and I'm a member of Green Restoration Ireland, where, as Tom mentioned, we work together with the farming community on transition planning away from chemical models towards regenerative agriculture, with a focus on peatland rewetting and carbon sequestration of land. But we work according to water-based vector and biodiversity vector as well, transport goes into payments for farmer transition. So yeah, that's it for me.
All right, then over to Tom Stewart.
Tom's already spoken, Thomas.
Then Tom Brennan.
Hi, thank you. I'm Tom from the Biodynamic Land Trust in the UK. We work to increase the amount of biodynamic and organic land protected into trust in perpetuity, working to establish community-connected farms. We currently have, I think now 6 projects we've been involved in a variety of ways, one of which has been issuing, doing community share issues to raise funds for land purchase. So this afternoon is very interesting. Thanks. And I'll pass to Mark Tierney.
Okay, if Mark can't speak, then we'll pass on to Ralph.
Yeah, I can speak. Hi, I'm Ralph. I'm working for Terre de Liens. It's a land access organization, land access network from France. And I'm currently based in Berlin, the facilitator of the and I'm really excited to see all of you.
And now I have lost count. So whoever has not spoken, please just speak up.
Carolina Halevi, probably.
Yeah, let's see. 1 second. Okay. Hi, I'm Carolina, and I'm working for Eurosite, and I'm the project officer of a live project called Live ENPLC, and we're a network for private land conservation. And as one of our tasks, we're also looking at financial incentives and funding for private land conservation. So that's why I'm joining the webinar. And I'm also supposed to greet you from Tilman.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anyone we left out?
I don't think so.
Wonderful. I'm so glad we did this, because now I think I feel like I have a feel for the room. It's always nice to have a feel for the audience. Now I know who I'm speaking to and can choose my words accordingly. I thought we're going to be more farmers, but it's more people from organizations, land trust organizations, some people from EU project side and funds and so on. So I'm going to target my presentation towards that direction.
Give me just 1 minute to say something about the technical side of this webinar. As you may have noticed, we are recording this webinar. The last webinar was also recorded, and we want to publish it on Vimeo. If you don't feel like it, please tell me. I will post my email address again. Also, if you have questions, please use the chat, and Clara will collect the questions, and at a certain time we will have time for asking them. I also asked everybody to mute their microphone, which probably everybody already does. Yeah, and I'm happy and looking forward to your presentation now, Thomas.
Yeah, thank you, Hannes, for organizing this. It's really a pleasure to have so many people here and to share some of my experience or our experience from Kulturland. So here we go. This is me quite a few years ago. That is when I was starting my education to become a farmer. I did a 4-year vocational training in Switzerland to become a farmer. After I originally studied economics and did a few things that did not, well, I wasn't, it didn't fulfill me, so to say. And so I took a time out and I went to an organic farm in Switzerland for a few months, and that really inspired me. And I started working for an EU project on farming, and then I realized after 2 years that I don't want to sit in front of a computer, so I want to do farming, and this is when I decided to actually do the education to become a farmer. So I lived and I worked on different farms for 4 years, and then in my 3rd and 4th year of my education, I started to look for my own farm because, of course, that was the goal. And then I realized that it's actually really impossible. And like, if you did not inherit the farm from your parents, then to take over a farm and to pay for that, if you didn't win in the lottery, then it's impossible. Just to take on a loan and to repay that, there's no way to pay for that with food production. The land prices have gone crazy in the last few years, especially. So I went and I joined a community farm in Germany, where a good friend of mine was doing a CSA, and that was the first farm that bought land with the Kulturland-Genossenschaft, with the community capital, and that for me was a really transformative idea. I have never heard of something like this before, and then I started to do research about commons and yeah, so let me just give you a quick overview of where this journey is going today. So I thought I'm going to give a quick historical overview of commons and the history of land property, and then introduce the Kulturland-Genossenschaft so you understand a little bit what my context is and what we do. And I'll show you a short video of one of our farms. It's actually only going to be 2 minutes, not 5 minutes. Then I'll give an overview of crowdfunding. As I said, I was expecting this to be more farmers, so more practical, kind of what is crowdfunding, different types of investments, and planning a crowdfunding campaign. I think maybe this audience is, but I mean, this is what the workshop is about. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to basically say how to plan a crowdfunding campaign. This is the biggest part here. And in between here, there's lots and lots of space for questions and answers. Feel free. I'm going to make a break every once in a while. There's going to be, the questions will be collected in the chat, and then I'll make a break, and then we go through the questions and I continue. I planned only about 40 minutes of speaking, so we're here for 2 hours. There's plenty of time for questions and answers. Then we will see a video from the crowdfunding campaign for Martin, and he will share his experience in a few minutes. And then we'll talk a little bit about the legal parameters. And then I will introduce a crowdfunding platform that I have been actually working on for 3.5 years. Then just quickly, political demands, what is necessary that we can make life easier for people who want to raise capital. Okay, so a quick overview of the historical perspective. So commons are of course nothing new. Elinor Ostrom was the first woman to win the Nobel Prize in Economics for studying commons, and basically disproving the neoliberal economic paradigm that humans are not capable of cooperation. So humans have been able to cooperate in the past and have been doing so very successfully. And what Elinor Ostrom showed is that private property is actually not, in many cases, not the most efficient way to deal with resources. Our paradigm in neoliberal economic thinking is We have all heard about the tragedy of the commons. I heard about this so many times in my economic studies at university, that when many people are in charge of resources or land, water, or whatever, then these people will not take good care of it. The land will be overgrazed, the rivers will be overfished, and the resources will be depleted. And this is why private property is so wonderful, because if you own it, you will take care of it. And we see it. I mean, this is the theory that is being taught in university, and we see all around us that it's not true. Investors, they own many things and they don't take care of it very well. And we have many examples of commons that were treated very well over many hundreds of years. Switzerland is a wonderful example. So the idea of private ownership emerged in Roman times, and then in the Middle Ages, the feudal property system developed, where of course the king, he kind of he owns or has domain over everything, and then he has his feudal lords and so on, and then of course the farmers, they have a right to use the land, but they don't own it, and they have to pay their feudal lords a certain amount every year. So, and this was the prevailing paradigm in Europe, Switzerland, and of course there's other places, but Switzerland was an interesting exception, where people came together and they said they don't want this feudal system. People came together and they said they want to organize themselves in a communal way. And so they developed commons that some of them are 900 years old now, and they still exist today, where forests or pastures, they were not owned by any single person, but by a community, and they had their rules how they deal with it. And Switzerland was quite vigorous about defending those commons, and it's also very interesting that actually these commons, these communally owned lands, they are older than the country of Switzerland. So some of them, they're more than 900 years old. And originally it was 3 of these land commons that joined together basically in a support union to defend from outside feudal lords to create the country of Switzerland. And then of course Switzerland grew. And so it's a very interesting example. I think Switzerland as a country is the closest thing in terms of a nation state that we have as a commons. And in most of Europe, of course, we had a feudal system, and it was very repressive in many ways. And so in the 19th century in Europe, in other places it was in different timescales. In the UK it was a little bit earlier, but in Germany it was after the Napoleonic Wars. The industrialization in the UK was already underway. The productivity there was outpacing the productivity in mainland Europe, and Germany realized that there needs to be some kind of reform, and this old feudal system was not suitable anymore. And so the property system was reorganized, and basically private property for farmers was allowed. And farmers were basically allowed to buy their land from their landlords. So they didn't get it for free, they had to actually buy it. An interesting story from a farmer close to where I'm here. His father, he paid the last amount on this. So this was in 1815. Yeah, in 1815, this revolution, this reform happened, and in 1960 he paid the last amount to pay off this land. But just a little anecdote. But this this private property was really seen as a revolution and as a freedom movement for the farmers. And in Germany, it's literally called the freedom movement of the farmers. So private property really was an accomplishment. Farmers were finally free, right? So, so when we're talking about from a perspective today where we say, well, this private property on land is bad and so on, we have to remember that the historical perspective is that it freed the farmers. And this is it was a very, very short time where farmers basically owned their land. If we look back into the 1960s in Germany, 85% of the land was owned by the farmers who were working on the land. Today, it is less than 30% of the land that is still owned by the farmers, right? So farmers, they have to sell the land because you cannot earn enough money anymore with producing food. So the farmers have to sell the land continuously. And then we again have, we're going towards a feudal system again because big investment conglomerates and investors, they're buying up this land. So this is where we come in. We need to get back to a commons, but not a commons of the past. The commons of the past, they were very, I would say, tight communities in the sense that you were born into it. So if you wanted to participate in a commons in Switzerland, for example, it was a right that you were born into. It was very difficult to join. And so what we as Kulturland-Genossenschaft, what we want to create is a commons of like-minded people who share the same vision of of treating the land well, of regenerative farming, ecological farming, and also social farming, so farming that is integrated socially in the region. And people who share this vision, they can put their money together, and then we buy land, we buy it out of the market, and we secure it, and then we let young people go on the land and farm on it in a regenerative, ecological, and social way. So a little bit of context from Germany, but I think it is very similar in other countries. Since the financial crisis, it is very interesting. If you look here, until 2008, we had very stable price development. And then we have 2008 and the prices exploded exponentially. I think we all know a few things about exponential numbers in the past year. And it has continued. So what's going on here? What's happening is that investors are not able to make returns anymore. We all know that at the bank you get 0 interest rate. In some countries you get negative interest rate. And where does all the printed money go? I mean, there's a lot of money in the system, and where does the money go? The safest thing is land. So a lot of land is going into land, and even though there's a lot of regulation and protection on land, in Germany I know there is, in France and in Switzerland, in some countries there's less. They find ways to go around the rules basically, and they buy the land. Most of this price increase is driven by pure speculation. In Germany, since 2008, the prices have gone up 3-fold. Yeah, so that is very quick. But in Poland, the prices have gone up 8 times in the same time, and in Romania 15 times in 12 years. So it's a really, really dramatic development, and short of creating laws that ban this kind of behavior, and I'm all in favor of making laws to stop this kind of speculation, the only way we as private citizens have is to buy the land and free it from this cycle. So the Kulturland-Genossenschaft was founded in 2013. We are in our 8th year now. There was basically a 7-year period where a lot of, or a few people, they came together and they thought, what about a new way that citizens can participate in securing land. the traditional way in Germany that emerged, or the way that emerged in the 1970s and 80s was nonprofit foundations. So especially biodynamic farms, they wanted to see their land secured long-term. They didn't want this land to go for sale on the market. So there was quite a few initiatives, also with the GLS Bank, that they created foundations, nonprofit institutions where this land was donated into, and private people, they could donate money, and with these donations, land was bought. But it became clear after 20 years, after 30 years, that it goes at a very slow pace. There's not so much donation money available, basically, to buy enough land. So they secured a few thousand hectares. I mean, it's not bad, and it was a few tens of millions of euros, but it's not large scale. So the question was, how can we create a scalable solution that uses a different quality of money? So not donation money, but participation capital. So this is where we come to crowdfunding, crowd investing. How can we create a crowd funding mechanism to buy the land? So the Kulturland-Genossenschaft, as its name implies, it's a cooperative. We have set a few rules, basically, that say that the land that we buy together, it has to be farmed ecologically. 10% of the land has to be put aside for ecological reserve, and the land has to be farmed in a regionally integrated way. And by that we mean that there's some kind of connection socially to the surroundings, so that the produce are sold in the region, or it's a CSA, or they work with school children, or they work with apprentices and so on. So it's not just some kind of big farm that produces organic for a big supermarket, but it's really a farm that also has, that is socially active. And this is, of course, in our statutes and so on. And then originally, when Kulturland-Genossenschaft started, it was from the perspective of the farmer. So it was one farm. It's a very successful farm in Germany, a biodynamic farm. One of their landlords wanted to sell 30 hectares of land for €500,000. And they didn't want to take on one more loan from the bank and go into debt even more. And the question was, how can we make it possible for the customers of the farm, the friends of the farm, to put their money together to buy this land? So the Kulturland Cooperative was founded, and then the people, they could put their money together by buying shares in the cooperative, and then the money was available to buy the land. And the legal construction, how we do it, is actually very complicated. We create a legal entity with each farm to secure the land, where we both have a veto right in this legal entity, so that the land cannot be sold without the permission of the other. So we cannot sell the land without the permission of the farmer, and also they cannot sell the land without our permission. So basically the land is locked. And if we would ever have to sell land because the people want to take their money back, then another land organization has the right to buy it, so that it doesn't go back into the market. We also have a nonprofit foundation that we can take donations. If somebody wants to donate land or money, they can do it in the nonprofit foundation, and then we can buy land with that. So it enables two types of qualities of money, right? It's the donation money, which is great, but also participative capital, money that you put in, and then maybe in a few years you can also take it out. So but you get no interest, you get no financial return, but you participate in the land purchase, and the money is secured, basically. So this is, if you go on our website today, this is the homepage, what you will see. Well, we have 893 members right now. We have bought land with 22 farms. And as you see, 272 hectares, it's not a lot. So we don't buy all of the land of the farm, of course. So each farm, we only buy a piece of land here, a piece of land there, what's available basically. When a farm comes to us, they say, well, somebody wants to sell land, we want to buy it, then we buy it with farm. And sometimes also we buy an entire farm. So actually we're growing very quickly. I would say in half a year, this number is going to be 400 here. This was our first campaign. So basically the Genossenschaft, the cooperative started in 2013, and then it was more like just friends of the farms who put their money together, and it was a lot of paperwork and so on, and it was not very sophisticated, so to say. Yeah. And then when I joined the cooperative in 2017, I had just heard about a wonderful crowdfunding campaign, and I thought, we can learn something from there. And we built our own website, our own platform, where you can buy shares and so on, and then everyone can see how many shares are sold and how much money and so on. And so the farms, they can also use our platform basically for their own funding. So the top you see here, this is to buy the land. But the second one here, this has really nothing to do with the Kulturland-Genossenschaft. Basically, this is for buildings on the farm. So they were asking for loans. And the third one here, it's for memberships in the CSA. So this campaign that we did with the farm was help the farm in many ways. So we secured the land, we raised money for the buildings, and the farm got more CSA members. And I'm just going to show a quick video of this farm, so you have a little bit of an idea of what I'm talking about. Let me try if I can play this. Hang on, I don't want to show the first 30 seconds, but I don't know if I'm able to. We're just going to have to live with, there's going to be 30 seconds. Okay, you'll see. Yeah, I can't change it.
Statt Bauern bestimmen immer mehr Spekulanten und die Agrarindustrie die Landwirtschaft. Setzt sich diese Entwicklung fort, werden in Zukunft nur noch wenige Manager bestimmen, was angebaut wird und was wir essen.
Diese Art der Landwirtschaft braucht es eine Gemeinschaft. Es braucht Sie.
Es braucht dich. Dich. Dich.
Und dich.
No. Okay, so this was our first try basically to do a video. We've tried a few other things, and now we have basically developed a format that we use for every farm. We go to every farm that we work with, we film for one day, and then we produce a little video to give an idea of the farm and to communicate the farm a little bit better. So these are all of the farms that we have bought land with so far. So this, just to give you an overview on the background of the organization. Yeah, and now I would open up for a first round of questions before I go into how on the general information on crowdfunding and how to do crowdfunding and so on. Do we have questions? I don't see it actually.
Yeah, we have 2 questions on the chat. One is a really practical one. Ralph is asking what legal entities have the farms?
Okay, so the farms, each farm is individual. It's different. Some of them are private persons. Some of them are GbR. Some of them are KGs. Some of them are GmbHs. That's really up to them. But we create with each farm that we buy land with, we create a Kommanditgesellschaft, a KG, where the Kulturland-Genossenschaft is Kommanditist and the farm is Komplementär. So I know this really doesn't doesn't tell you anything. Basically, it means that the farmer has the full rights over this land. So actually, when the purchase contract for the land is being signed, it is the farmer who signs the contract. And when the lease agreement is signed, the farmer, and he's actually the executive party of this legal entity. So the farmer, as the executive party of the legal entity that owns the land, signs the lease agreement as leasee and leaser. So what is our role in this? We collect the money. We make it easy to collect the money. We put the money in the legal entity, and we have a veto right. As I said, we have a veto right that the land is not sold and that the land is farmed in an ecological way and is socially, regionally integrated. So this is our contract with the farmer. And as long as the farmer sticks to this contract, he has the land forever. Really, like we can never take the land away from him.
Great, thanks, Thomas. There's another question about whether do you identify other similar initiatives in Europe, similar to Kulturland acquiring processes, I mean.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, there's the network access to land, of course. Most of them are members in that network. In Germany, there is also a few. There is the Subordinated, which is actually bigger than us. They have a little bit of a different approach. But I'm not going to get into that. Then there is the Ökonauten, which is a smaller cooperative that is just working in a smaller region. Then, of course, in Belgium, we have the Landgenoten. And in the Netherlands, I know about an initiative, a big initiative starting, but I can't tell you yet. It's going to be big. And in France, there's a very big organization, the Terre des Liens. They have, I mean, just to give you an idea, we have secured, or our balance sheet is 8 million euros now, 8.5 million euros. The Subordinated in Germany, it's about 35 million. And Terre des Liens, it's 110 million, 120 million. And they actually have a lot more capital that is being offered to them than they can deal with, which has a lot to do with the regulatory environment and the tax incentives in France, which is a wonderful example of how projects like this can be incentivized. And then there's quite a few initiatives starting. There's in the US, there's a wonderful project called Agrarian Trust, which is also similar to our structure, also with the legal entities and so on. And then in Ireland, there is an initiative starting. Yeah.
Great, Thomas. There's also a question from Ralph that asks you to delve into the concept of crowd capital. He says, does the crowdfunders become shareholders on a specific project, on the limited company or in the Kulturland?
Okay, so we don't have any limited companies. To be very precise, it's a Kommanditgesellschaft, which is a combination of a limited company and a personal liability company, where the farmer is the personally liable partner and we are the limited liable partner. Anyways, that's very technical. So right now, what we do is people, they join the cooperative, they become members in the cooperative, they buy shares from the Kulturland cooperative, and they say which farm they want this money to go to. And then we put it there. And this has just a practical reason that as a cooperative, because there's a lot of supervision going on. So we are part of a supervision entity, basically. We are very closely supervised. We are allowed to raise as much money as we want without any additional paperwork, basically. And other legal entities, you have to create these kinds of prospectus or a small prospectus. Now it's actually made easier, but this law was only changed 3 years ago. Until 3 years ago, you had to have a prospectus for every kind of fundraising for more than 100,000 euros. And to create a prospectus costs 40 to 50,000 euros. So it's too expensive to raise money with another legal entity. So this is why the cooperative is the perfect legal entity to raise the money, and then we put the money where it should go. Now, since 3 years, but I will get into that later, the law is a little bit easier, which is great. And we are thinking about allowing participation capital to go into the legal entities themselves. And we're thinking about actually having regional entities and so on, but these are plans for the future. Right now, it's all of the participation goes through the cooperative.
Great, thanks, Thomas. There's a question also on successions within a certain farm. The question is, if the lease is in the name of the farmer, what happens if the farmer wants to move on or ceases its activity?
Well, if the farmer moves on, then of course we're very happy. If there's other, if there's a succession, if the farmer has a successor and so on, then we will, agree on that and so on. But if it should happen that there's no succession, there's two farms where this is the case. This is actually our two biggest projects, that there's no succession in place. And so we went out and we announced that we have these two farms, and we make them available to young people, communities who, not necessarily communities, but the farms are have a lot of potential. So it has also the potential for many people to live there. So we made this announcement in different channels, and we had a lot of people who were interested, and we had a long process. And for one of the farms, we have just a few weeks ago decided who will take over. And for the other farm, we're in the final stages of making the decision.
Great. Thanks, Thomas. I would say there's a last question before we go on. It is a question from Mark. He says, can you live on the land or can you just farm the land? I guess that he's wondering whether there are also building assets and how is it managed?
Okay, so very interesting question, very technical question. I can get into that. Okay, so we don't want to be the owners of buildings, because buildings is equal to maintenance, and we don't want maintenance. We don't want to have to take care of a leaking roof. So we created a solution for that, where the farmers, they can buy the land as private property within a 99-year lease agreement. So the land on which the farm's buildings stand, the land belongs to the Kulturland or the community. Let's say the community, and the building that's on top belongs to the farmer. But there's a contract which ties the building to the farming of the land. So it's actually written in the contract that the person who owns this building must also farm the land. So the people who own these buildings, they can't just say, okay, so now we have a nice house here, whatever, but we don't want to take care of the land. If they would do that, then they don't have the right to live there anymore. So this is the one thing that we have contractually organized. And the second thing is okay, so when we buy a whole farm, so far there's only been three farms where we bought a whole farm, including the buildings. Then for a short period of time, we own the buildings, but then we want to sell them again very quickly. And then when we sell the buildings, we sell them for a very, very fair price. And we don't want the people who then own the buildings to then pass on buildings for a speculative price. So it is also contractually agreed that when the people leave the farm, the farm buildings will be passed on to the next people for a value that is determined by an independent auditor. Right, so an independent auditor will come there and say, okay, so this building has a value of 300,000 euros, and that value does not include any kind of speculation, right? And then they can ask this money, which is fair, but they cannot ask any more than that.
Great, thanks, Thomas. So I think we can now go on and maybe delve into the concept of crowdfunding and the good and bad practices that you can identify within your organization. So thanks for this enriching questioning. We can go on now.
Yeah, thanks for these questions. And I'm happy to also share more documentation later on all of these complex questions on our website. We actually translated our entire website, including the most important PDFs and FAQs and so on. You can find it on kulturland.de at About Us, and then there's an English document. So crowdfunding. So when we say crowdfunding, it's a very general term, yeah. So in general, so I've been involved in quite a few crowdfundings now, and I've of course learned from quite a few crowdfundings and did my research. And in general, rule of thumb, you could say that 50% of the money comes from friends and family. And interestingly, that is a number that other people will say, but it's also the case for Kulturland-Genossenschaft. So half of the money comes from people around the farm, so customers of the farm, friends of the farm, family, and so on. And half of the money comes from people who don't have a direct connection to the farm, but they say, this is a wonderful initiative and I want to participate. Right, so so if you want to have a successful crowdfunding, you need to keep in mind if you don't have friends and family, customers, whatever, who are going to participate, it's also going to be really hard to convince strangers to participate. Also an important number, 60% of crowdfundings fail. This is a number you will find on many platforms. What does it mean, fail? Well, traditionally, a crowdfunding runs for a certain period of time, usually for 30 days. For the Kulturland-Genossenschaft, that is not the case. When we decide to buy land together, then we buy the land, and we actually put up the money up front. So we have a capital reserve, and then we buy the land, and then we refill our capital reserves with the money that comes in. And so there's no failing. It can't fail because with some farms, the money comes together in 3 months, and some farms it takes 3 years. But so half of the farms that we bought land with so far, the money is all in. So and some of them are almost finished, and there's only 2 or 3 farms where it's going very, very slowly. And then we talk to the farmer and we help him with the communication and so on. So this fourth point, so crowdfunding is not an easy way to get to money, really. I mean, it is so much work, so much work, so much preparation, and also so much money to make a video, to create promotion material, to go to the events and this and that. It's a lot of time and money, basically, to do crowdfunding. And then the money you get, if you count how many hours you put in, oftentimes it's not worth it, so to say. But if that gives you a community that basically, you know, carries you, maybe those are customers with whom you then have a closer relationship for a long time and so on, then that's really, really valuable. So it's not just about the money with these crowdfundings. Yeah, and with most crowdfunding platforms, the money that you say that you need, let's say you need 100,000 euros, then there's a time period in which this crowdfunding campaign runs. And if you don't raise the money in this time, then the crowdfunding fails, and the money goes back to the people and you don't get any money. So that's usually the model. This is not how the Kulturland-Genossenschaft works, because I mean, we do our own crowdfundings, right? We're not using any kind of platform. So when we say crowdfunding, it's actually a big term. It means a few different things. So classical crowdfunding, it was originally these 2 platforms, Indiegogo and Kickstarter. They were the really the first ones to make it big. This was in the early 2010 years. And usually it was people who have an idea of a product. For the farming context, you could say you want to create cheese, okay? So then you sell the cheese up front. So, you know, let's say you need the money so you can build your cheese making facilities. And then you sell people the cheese now, and then they can get it when it's done, right? So that's the classical crowdfunding. You're basically selling your product ahead of time so you have the money to produce the product. Then the second type of crowdfunding, it's crowd donations. So this is not, you're not giving a product, but rather you're asking for donations for a certain cause or project. Let's say, yeah, you could ask for donations to buy land. Why not? I mean, let's say you need to buy land, you need 30,000 euros, something like that. And then you can ask people to give donations. Or a school is in need, or whatever, or you're raising money. There's an earthquake somewhere in the world, and you're raising money to help, or something like that. Then this is donations, right? The people who are giving money, they're not getting a product for that, and they're not getting shares or anything like that. The third type is the crowd investing, which is participative capital. So people who are giving money, they can also get the money back in some way. So this is either they're buying shares, or they're lending money, or some kind of other participation. For us, the people who buy the shares, after 5 years, they can give the shares back if they want to, and they get their money back, but they get no interest. Usually there is some kind of financial reward. So here I posted 3 farming crowd investing sites, of course, Kulturland, but also Go Steward, it's in the US. They do crowdfundings with farms that need capital for infrastructure and so on. And if you go on Go Steward, you will see that the farms are paying interest rates of 6 to 8%. So that's really a lot of money. If you think about it, if you need to buy land, that's too much. You can't pay this kind of interest rate. And here, this, I don't know how to say it, this Dutch website, they are also doing crowdfunding for with farms. And there's one interesting crowdfunding going on for Boeren, which is also a land trust. They're raising 15 million euros and they're offering interest rate of 0.7 to 1.2%. And they have raised about 2 million so far. So it's been going for 1 month now. And the fourth type of crowdfunding is a crowd salary, or so-called a personal crowdfunding. So usually this is used by artists. So, or let's give us an example. I have a friend actually. He's a cook. And he does YouTube videos and he shares his recipes and so on. And he writes a newsletter and he does it really, really well. He communicates very well. And then people can support him. And then they get access to some of his videos. They're invited to have a personal chat with him and so on. And there's different types of support. Some people, they just support him with €1 per month, and some people support him with 100 euros per month. And I don't know exactly how much he earns, but he makes a very good living, I can tell you that. So this, if you have a very nice farm where you have lots of animals and it looks nice and you have a passion for communication, so this kind of personal crowdfunding, the difference to the other crowdfundings is that this money you get every month. So the people that support you, they pay every month. And that's, of course, that has a different value than raising money one time, right? So if you have a passion for good communication, if you have a passion for making videos, writing nice emails, and letting people be part of it, and you're willing to invest quite a lot of energy in this, then over the long term, this could actually be quite a lucrative crowd funding strategy. Of course, not for buying land, but to help sustain your farm. And one last point here, be careful to check how much commission these platforms are asking for. There's hundreds and hundreds of platforms, and there's some of them that don't charge anything. They're donation or nonprofit based. And there's some platforms that charge you 10%. So if you're raising 300,000 euros and you have to pay 10%, that is really a lot of money. So that's really something to look into. All right, do we have any questions here?
I think we don't have any so far.
Okay, then I'll move on. I know there's a lot of text here, but instead of making so many slides, I thought I'll put it all on one slide. So when we're talking about crowd investing, which of course we're talking about buying land, so primarily we're going to be looking at investment capital. Of course, you can take donations, but there's a limit really how much donation money you can get. There's very successful examples. Agrarian Trust in the US, they did very successful crowd donations, and also in Germany. So I don't want to say that you shouldn't do that, and that's great, if you are able to raise that kind of money. But I think you will get more money if you do crowd investments, and there's these different types. So there's loans, of course. So you can take on a loan on different terms, and there's different types of loans. So it's really worth looking into what the different types of loans are. So let's say a classical loan, you say, okay, there's a 10-year term and a certain interest rate, let's say 2%. So what does that mean? That means that you need to pay back the loan in 10 years, which means 10% per year. So that's and then 2% interest, so you're paying 12% per year. So that's really a lot of money. If you're thinking of raising, let's say, €500,000, then you would be paying 60,000 euros per year for that loan. if you're taking money from a bank and it's a, let's say it's a 30-year loan term agreement, then let's say you're paying 3% repayment on the loan plus 2% interest, then you're paying 5%. So on a €500,000 loan, you're paying 25,000 euros per year, which can be a lot of money. I mean, that's 2,000 euros per month. If you think about land prices right now, in some regions, they're at 50,000, 100,000 euros. There's no way you can earn this much money from producing food. So it's really, really hard to pay these kinds of percentages. So then there's other types of loans, the so-called subordinated loans. They are loans that private people give you, and the money that you get, you can then take to the bank and say, look, I have this much money, and then you can get maybe a better loan from the bank. You know, when you go to a bank and let's say you want €500,000, then the bank says you need to put up 100,000 euros of your own money, right? Maybe you don't have 100,000 euros. Or maybe the bank gives you different terms. They say if you bring 50,000 euros, we ask 2% interest rate. If you bring 200,000 euros, we only ask 1% interest rate, right? So you could save a lot of money in interest rates from the bank if you can bring more money. And so you can ask people to give you loans, and then you have this money, but it has to be this kind of so-called subordinated loan, so that in the case of insolvency, in case your farm goes bankrupt, the bank gets paid first and the private people get paid second, right? So they're in the second rank for the loans. So basically it counts as your own capital when you go to the bank. Then a lot of farms, they work with consumption vouchers, which it's really in a way a loan, right? People are giving you money, and you tell them you get paid back with food, right? And that's really great because, I mean, you're producing the food, and then the experience has been from many different of these consumption voucher campaigns that 1/3 to 1/2 of the people who participate, they actually never convert these vouchers into food. So basically 1/3 to half of the money you're getting in donations, right? I mean, it's of course they could come maybe at some point or something like that, but the experience has been over many years that at least 1/3 of these vouchers are not, at least in Germany, I don't know how it is in other countries, but in Germany, 1/3 of these vouchers they never get consumed. And then the people, they come, the rest, the people who consume the vouchers, they come within 1 or 3 years and they consume. And so that can be actually quite a challenge, because if, let's say, you raise 100,000 euros to build your cheese-making facility, and then people have the right to consume cheese for 100,000 euros. And then the people, they come the next 3 years and they get the cheese for the vouchers, then you're not making money, basically. You know, you're producing the cheese and no money is coming in because people are coming with the vouchers. So this can really be a problem for your liquidity. So you need to think about this kind of time horizon. It's not a solution for very big amounts of money. And one advice, I should make this red here. Okay, so a very important point here. Don't make rebates. So let's say you want to sell the cheese for 28 euros per kilo, let's say something like that. Then don't do the crowd campaign offering the cheese for 20 euros, because you're going to get the wrong people. You're going to get people who want to buy cheese for 20 euros. And then later, if you're selling your cheese for the normal price, you're going to lose these customers. So just sell the cheese for a normal price or even more expensive. I can give you an example of a very successful crowd campaign that is happening right now in Germany. They are raising money to build their cheese-making facility. They need something like 45,000 euros. and they sold their cheese basically for twice the price. They're asking for 50 euros per kilo. I mean, that's really expensive cheese. And they're raising really good money, because for people, it's oftentimes it's not about the money necessarily. It's not the most important thing. So they really like the farm, they want to support the farm and so on. And these are the people who are willing to spend 50 euros per kilo for cheese. They're going to be great customers in the future, right? So it's better to have fewer people or to raise less money from the right kinds of people than to raise more money from the wrong kinds of people. Okay, the third way to go here is equity. Shares in a company or in a cooperative. So if you are like a cooperative like the Kulturland-Genossenschaft, we are issuing shares and are getting money for that. So this is equity. Everyone who owns a share, they are a member in this cooperative, and they also have a voting right. By law in Germany, it doesn't matter how many shares you have, you only have one vote. So it's a very democratic institution. There's, of course, other legal entities, let's say a limited company. There you have as much a vote as your share is in the company, usually, right? So let's say you have 10% share in the company, then you have 10% of the votes. And well, let's say you know, people participate and they buy. Let's say you have a traditional Aktiengesellschaft, which is a shareholding. I don't know what the English term is. And what is Aktiengesellschaft in English? A stock
shareholding company.
Shareholding company. Not necessarily listed in the stock market, but this type of legal entity, a shareholding company, you have as many votes as you have shares. So if you're raising money with these kinds of shares, then you have to be careful that one person doesn't get control of your entity, right? So a really good thing about this is participative capital that you don't need to repay on an annual basis, right? I mean, we looked at these loans, right? You need to repay, let's say 5%, 10% per year. That's really a lot of money. And in terms of liquidity, that is something that most farms cannot manage. But this kind of participative capital, you don't have to make a yearly repayment. With shareholding companies, the people who buy the shares, they can't give the shares back and tell you that they want their money back. They can only sell their shares to somebody else, right? So the money you raise, you have secured basically. If it's a limited company, then also you don't have to give the money back. They can sell their shares to somebody else, but the company doesn't have to buy it back. With the cooperative, it's of course different. The people can give their shares back and we have to give their money back. But there's quite a long termination period. So we don't have problems with liquidity. So one thing, of course, is always to keep in mind what the return expectations are. So for the Kulturland cooperative, we offer no return because we don't want to charge the farmers a lot of money for the land. We only charge really very little to cover our administrative costs. And the investors, the people who participate in the crowdfunding, they get nothing. They get a vote. They are part of the community. And they, of course, they can go to the farm and they're part, they participate. But they don't get money in return. If you structure it with different kinds of other participative capital, then you could structure it in a way that they get a profit share, which it's also not necessarily bad because if you're not making a profit, if you're making a loss, then you don't have to pay them anything. And if your farm is doing very well, then you pay them a share of your profit, which could be a fair deal. I know of organizations in the US that structure their participation capital like this. In Europe, I don't know any organization that does that. And then I just want to mention this term here, mezzanine capital. This is the term for something between loan and equity. This kind of subordinated loan falls under this kind of category of mezzanine capital. So basically, it's capital that people make available. They make some kind of loan, and the terms are structured in a way that the organization or you can use this money, let's say, more freely. And the people, they don't have a say in your company necessarily. So another way would be a silent loan, we call it in Germany. So basically you become a silent shareholder. Basically you buy shares or something like that in the organization, in your entity, and the people, they put the money in, but they don't have any votes. So there's many different ways to structure these kinds of participative capitals. Yeah. So I'm going to open it up for a round of questions here.
So far, there's only one question that I believe it will be tackled later when you talk about open crowd invest. Well, it's a question from Tony. He's saying, isn't it a better option to create your own platform without conditions? So yeah, we can talk it either now or later as you wish.
No, that's a great question, and yes, of course it is, and we did that. We created our own software, so that's yeah, that is really valuable for us. But I'll get into that after this slide. So let me get into this. So planning a crowd campaign, I actually put together a 6-page Google document that I'm happy to share with everyone, or the organizers of the of today's webinar. They're going to share that with you. I'm going to make that available. But just to go through it a little bit, maybe I don't want to spend too much time here, but to cover the most important point. So, of course, first things first, be clear about what you are raising the money for. I mean, you need to be, it's very important to communicate very clearly that it's not just you want money and then you'll think about what you need it for, right? It should be very clear that you need this money to build a cheese making facility. You need this money for exactly this piece of land. You need it for new stables and so on, right? So it's also very important for the storytelling. Then I can't stress this enough. Look at other successful campaigns and copy them. You don't need to reinvent anything. There's so many wonderful, successful campaigns. And this is what I did. I copied 100% everything. And it's great, you know, and the people in Switzerland who did this successful crowdfunding, I talked to them and they said, well, you know, this is great. They did a crowdfunding to create a new newspaper. They raised 3 million francs. And they created a wonderful site and a wonderful communication and a wonderful video. And I was like, guys, I want to do this just for farming. And is it okay if I copy your ideas, basically? And they're like, yeah, great, do it. Copy what you want, you know? And so I just looked at how did they structure their website? How did they communicate their message? How did they make their video? I really analyzed very, very deeply. And of course, I looked at other crowd campaigns. And then just copy with my own message. Of course, you know, it's not like we're not raising money just for because we want money. We have a very clear mission, right? So be very clear what is the mission, what is it that you want, and then put it onto a successful campaign. Here from the research, you will find this number that crowdfunding campaigns that in the first 3 days raise, or in the first day, it's very important to start good or to start off quickly. So of course you need to do a lot of communication up front. If you raise 20% of the money that you need right in the beginning, then almost 80% are successful. right? And I told you in the beginning, 60% of crowdfundings fail, right? So if you can mobilize the energy in the beginning, then you have a high chance of succeeding. So you need to really do a lot of promotion ahead. You cannot underestimate this. For the campaign that I showed for Luzernenhof, where we raised 1 million euros, I was working full-time 6 months to prepare this campaign, full-time job. And then it paid off. We were very successful. We did a lot of events. We did screenings. We did movie screenings where we showed our film. We invited prominent guests for podium discussion and so on and so on. So it really is a lot of work. Don't underestimate. What's really important for every crowdfunding campaign, I think, is a good video. Important, not too long. 2 minutes is really good. The video I showed you, it was 1 minute and 53 seconds, right? And it showed you enough information to get a little bit of an idea. And if you want more information, you go on the website. And maximum 5 minutes, right? So really, really no longer than that. And again, watch good videos. And here I put, you will get these slides later. I put some samples of good videos here that you could look at and then just analyze why is it good? Why does it speak to me? And then just copy. Make it personal. I mean, your story is, you know, there's so few farms left. In Germany, only 2% of the population is farming. There's such a disconnect between farmers and city people. So if a farmer, and most farmers there, they don't like to be in the spotlight. They don't like videos taking of them and so on. So it is quite unique, right? So it's not like other crowdfundings where you have to kind of create some kind of story to be unique. You are unique just because you are a farmer. Right, so you just need to step over your inner shadow in a way, you know, just your hesitation. You need to really step over it and try to be personal and really tell your personal story. Why is it so important that this crowdfunding is successful? Make it emotional. Don't feel bad that you're asking people to give you money or something like that. Don't worry about it. There's a lot of people who have a lot of money, and they're happy to give you their money rather than have their money in the bank account where they get 0 interest rate, right? So think about it like that. There's a lot of people, honestly, there's a lot of people who have money lying around somewhere that is not generating returns for them. And they really want to make that money available for something good, and they don't know where to put their money. It's not so easy to find good things to participate. Like, it's for a citizen, it's not easy to invest money in good things. If you have, let's say, 5,000 or 10,000 or 20, 50,000 euros. If you have a few 100,000 or a few million, then it becomes easier. Then you can, you're a kind of, you know, privileged investor and so on, and you have access to different kinds of investment vehicles. But if you just have this kinds of, you know, let's say up to 100,000 euros, it's not so easy to find good ways to make your money do something good. So give them an opportunity, show them that they can participate in your farm. All right, then don't make too many different options for rewards or investments. So, you know, for Luzernenhof, there was 3 options. You could either buy shares, you could give a loan for 1% or something like that, or you could become a member. And if you're doing a crowdfunding to raise money to build a cheese making facility, then do 5 options. Either you can buy 1 kilo of cheese, you can buy 5 kilos of cheese, you can buy a cheese subscription for 1 year, or, you know, a few things, but not too many options, because it It's unnecessary. I mean, just make 5 creative options, you know, make funny names and kind of create a funny story for it. Yeah, and just make it easy for people to make the decision that where they want to participate. And the last point here is crowdfundings don't work without publicity. And we saw this for Kulturland 4 years ago. So Kulturland was already 4 years old, and it really looked like this thing is not going to work. I mean, the idea is great and everything is great. It's all great, but people need to hear about it. And as I said, there's really a lot of people out there who want to make their money available for good things, but they need to hear about it. So you really need to go out there and make lots and lots and lots of publicity. And the personal contact is very important. So I put social media in the bottom here because in my experience, social media does not work at all. The people who spend a lot of time in social media, they're not the people who are going to be willing to invest 1,000 euros. So social media has a strange kind of superficiality. So try to, you know, once it's possible again, to create offline events, physical events, go to the local food market, talk to people who go there, invite people to come to your farm, and really ask your friends to talk to their friends. Write a nice email that you ask your friends to forward to their friends. And one thing not to be underestimated, this is actually easier than it sounds at first. Send out a press release to local newspapers. And in my experience, the less professional you write it, the more response you will get. If you write a very kind of polished press release that looks like it comes from a PR agency, then the newspaper is going to delete the email. They don't care, whatever. But if they get an email from a farm from the region, then they're like, what is this? I've never seen something like this before, right? And then you just say, look, we're doing this crowd campaign. It's really something new. Our farm is really special and so on. And we're having 3 events in the next month. We invite people for these events, and we invite the press to come to the farm. And in my experience, this works. So try it out. Okay, so before we go over to Martin, I would open it up to another round of questions if there are any, and then we're going to see that short video of Martin, and then I will talk a little bit about the crowd platform that we created. No questions?
I think you can go on. Thanks.
Okay, wonderful. Then we'll watch this short video. It's 3 minutes. I hope it works.
My jsme se seznámili v Budějovicích na škole. Martin mě k tomu nějak jakoby přivedl zpátky k těm kořenům, protože on celou dobu zemědělství dělat chtěl, studoval ho.
Jsem vždycky tíh k těm věcem, co jsou spojený s přírodou.
My od začátku jedeme v režimu ekologického zemědělství, což znamená, že žádné hormony ani pesticidy nepoužíváme. Nevím, proč bychom měli do půdy, která je vlastně takovým tím nejdůležitějším prostředkem pro to, abychom vůbec mohli produkovat to, co produkujeme, tak proč bychom si ji měli záměrně devastovat, ničit, házet do ní jako chemii, která se pak dostává zpětně do toho jídla.
Proto je důležité se zabývat zemědělstvím.
Potraviny nejsou drahý, biopotraviny. Spíš ty potraviny, co nejsou bio, tak ty jsou levný. Potraviny se vyrábějí průmyslově a vyrábějí se takovým způsobem, že vždycky tu výslednou cenu, která pak znamená to, že to jídlo je levné, někdo odnese. Buď to odnese ten zemědělec, nebo to odnesou zvířata, nebo to odnesou rostliny, nebo to odnese celá krajina, na který hospodaříme. Takže to, že se hospodaří ekologicky nebo agroekologicky v nějakém režimu, znamená, že do té půdy právě vkládáme a to něco stojí. To, že se o ní staráme nějakým způsobem, to zase něco stojí. To, že se těch plevelů nezbavujeme tím, že to postříkáme Roundupem, ale nějakou další činností, ať už je to pletí jako mechanický nebo cokoliv jiného, tak to zase jakoby něco stojí a to všechno se musí promítnout v ceně těch potravin. Potraviny jsou potom kvalitní, jsou fakt dobrý.
To je třeba zemědělství a to je proč by to měli lidi třeba dělat, mladí lidi o tom uvažovat, protože je to něco nesmírně krásného, kreativního, co může člověka naplňovat. Být i zdrojem radosti a vlastně být užitečný pro ostatní lidi. Jednak, že jim dodá něco, co je bude vyživovat zdravě, co jim bude přinášet taky třeba nějakou radost.
Ten způsob toho, že si rozvrhnu den tak, jak potřebuju a to, že ho trávím hodně času venku, vyhovuje vlastně mnohem víc, než to, že sedím třeba 8 hodin u počítače. A když jsem mnohem unavenější jsem byla, když jsem přišla prostě po těch 8 hodinách z práce, než když jsem prostě 10 hodin venku a pleju nebo sesazuju, seju. To mě spíš nabíjí. Půda mě dobíjí, zvířata mě dobíjí. Každý z nás by měl rozhodnout o tom, čemu dává svůj hlas a kde potraviny kupuje a jaký potraviny kupuje, protože to je to rozhodující, jakým
You muted yourself and also muted the video sound, but that's no problem. It's over. we could.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Okay, it was over anyways. No, I don't want that. Okay, how do I go? Okay, so Martin, would you like to tell us a little bit?
Yeah. This video was not too great because the crowdfunding campaign was like the purpose was attract young people high school to become farmers for the campaign. We make another video which was not shown, but this is not the matter. I make on my paper here just few notes, and I has to say that Thomas has mentioned already, I don't know, most of the topics or the experiences we had with our campaign here. We've been like raising the money not for our farm itself, but we raise the money for the kind of the project we are trying to launch, which is to basically training farm or training center for the young farmers and like an educational farm which should run beside our private small farm. And this video was about it, that hey guys, we are like wanted to make some building and do some kind of landscaping and raise the money for this. So this was not money for our farm or that we wanted to make a cheese or to grow more vegetables. The money were for this bigger project. Particularly, we were tracing through 3,000 euros for the mobile trailer to accommodate first apprentices before we make or build some better structures. And yes, so this was the story. We've been like tracing their money for the training for the trailers to accommodate our apprentices, which can sound kind of not as unique in Germany or UK or across the Europe, but since apprentices or Ausbildung program is kind of very new in Czech Republic, and we together with AMPE and other organizations are trying to launch this. So it's kind of new and it's kind of innovative. So the message was kind of attractive, and yes, I mean, we've been lucky that we had a much wider kind of base of people we are collaborating with, because if would be just solo farmers with bunch of friends, we would not be successful, because I was quite impressed how much work and how much attention and money has to go into campaign to be successful. You know, I think we've been like raising 3,000 euros, and the campaign cost more than that. But another like a offset, which was maybe even bigger than this, like a raising manner for the trailers itself, was that we've been kind of to promoting Foundation for the Soil, which is kind of new to project in Czech Republic, and we want to, on this particular case, training farm and trailers for the apprentices, kind of make more publicity and or draw attention to this, that convince people or inform the people that there is some kind of foundation for the soil. They can donate the money for foundation for the land to be buy, for the farm to be saved, and so on. So our story was kind of vehicle to pass this like a bigger message. And yeah, we've been lucky that because we collaborate with our foundation, we doesn't have to spend our like a private or farm money on the campaign, and then we have like a group of professionals or the group of people who've been been paid on the campaign, because as you mentioned, Thomas, it takes some knowledge, it takes a time and takes a effort and expertise. And yeah, I've seen few campaigns on projects when farmers wanted to raise some money on like a Kickstarter, the platform here in Czech to raise money on cheese making room, for example, and they did not succeed because they just did it itself, and it was not the professional, and yeah, definitely you have to do it to professional to have a chance to be successful. This was my biggest lesson learned, that campaigning for the money, it's professional job.
Thank you for sharing this experience. I've known of quite successful campaigns done by people themselves, but yes, they also they ask around and so on. And I think, of course, the context is maybe quite different in Germany, also Switzerland, and so on. So it really depends. I wouldn't say you necessarily have to hire someone, but you definitely shouldn't underestimate how much energy and effort you need to put in. No, okay, so now just the legal parameters, also very important. So quite a few years ago, the EU made a law which basically wanted to protect small investors, so that you have to create this kind of investment brochure called a prospectus for any investment offering over 100,000 euros. And it was really an absolute disaster, because you couldn't raise money anymore if you're a small organization. And finally, 3-4 years ago, they changed the law. Thank God, thank God. And now in all of Europe, you can raise money up to 1 million euros within 12 months without any huge hurdles. So you, instead of creating this kind of prospectus, which costs something like 50,000 euros, now it's only a 3-page information paper, which it's also not cheap. I mean, if you ask a lawyer to do this work for you, then it costs 3,000 euros. Up to 100,000 euros, you need nothing. Okay, I didn't write this here. Important. Up to 100,000 euros, you absolutely need nothing. Yeah, and 100,000 euros to 1 million euros, you need this 3-page paper. And in some countries, I put the link here where you can see for every European country, the limit is up to 8 million. So most Western European countries have an 8 million euro limit, also Germany, France, and so on. And mostly Eastern European countries have lower limits, but the lowest is 1 million. Okay, so crowd investing software for commons projects. So when I started looking into crowd investing platforms and so on, I looked at the terms, and I was you know, we wanted to raise 1 million euros for this one farm, and we should pay 7%. So that's 70,000 euros for the platform. And I was like, that's crazy. I mean, that's really a lot of money. So instead of spending 70,000 euros on that, I put together a project proposal, and I said, we're going to build our own. Maybe a little bit less sophisticated, but it's going to be our own. And I put together project budget, 30,000 euros for the whole building the software on which to do the to run the participations, and also to make a video and so on. And we did it within the budget. Within half a year, everything was done, and then we could run our first campaign on this website, basically running on our own software. And we're like, well, you know, that's really fantastic. So then we kept working on the software, and I found some wonderful people who also thought that this is an important project, and they've been working on this for 3.5 years now. And there's basically a second version of the software that where it's not just a single website, but on our platform, basically, if you see here, this is you can see my screen. Yeah. Okay. So this is our website. You can see this is our homepage. And then you can see every farm has its own.
But we cannot see the website. We can only see your presentation.
Oh, you cannot see the website. Okay, then I need to share this. Now you can see the website?
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. So this is what the website looks like. And we built this ourselves, okay? And you know, we're not a software company, but actually the people who joined this, they know a little bit about this, and we are planning to make this available for all other organizations. So we've been working really hard on this, And now it's not just a site for a single farm, but every farm has their own site. So you look here, you see all of our 22 farms, and then let's say we go here on one farm, and then each farm has a video, and then you can see where the land is and so on. And here you can participate, you can buy the shares. And then you can choose how much you want to. This is the 5% here that you saw. This is a donation. Basically, you're donating to the cooperative to cover our costs. If you can also put in a different amount, and then you get a PDF which you need to sign because you're signing shares. You need to still sign with your hand, and then you can send it to us electronically or via mail. Yeah, basically this is how it works, and it's still in the back end. Of course, all of the people who make their investment here, we have a database and so on. And this is still the beta version, and the programmers they keep working on it. And basically the 2.0 version is coming out sometime in summer. And we are going to be incorporating this software as a separate legal entity, as a purpose company. So that all commons projects, all community projects can use this open software to run their campaigns and don't have to pay these kinds of really, really high fees, right? So now I would like to go back to my slide. Okay, here we go. No, wait a minute. This is not what I wanted. Okay. Actually, I would like to go back into full screen. How does that work? I don't know how to make that work. Then I need to reload, maybe. Okay, now you can see my full screen again. Are you seeing the presentation or the website?
Yes, no, the presentation.
Okay. Okay, here we go. So then, last but not least, I also have political demands. Okay, so life is not made easy for us to raise this money, or anyone really. There's some really good examples if we look in EU countries of really good policies that can help. One is in France, a model where social companies, they call it social companies. I would go further. I would say eco-social companies. They get a label, and it's a very simple label. It basically says if the purpose of the company, as written in the statutes, it has an eco-social purpose. If the income gap in the company is less than 1 to 10, and a few other simple things are fulfilled, then the company is labeled as an social company, as an ESUS company. Then citizens who invest, they can deduct their investment from their income tax up to 20,000 euros within 5 years. So just imagine you're in the top income bracket, you're paying 40% tax. You can invest 20,000 euros and you deduct it from your income. You're saving 40% tax. You're getting 8,000 euro return in tax saving. You have to leave your money in for 5 years, and then you can get your money out. So basically, you're getting a return of 6-7% through a tax incentive. This is really amazing. And also in France, pension funds have to invest 5% of their money into ESUS labeled companies. So our sister organization Terre de Liens in France, they, as I said, they already have 120 million euros. But I know that they are getting offered a lot more than that, especially by institutional investors, by pension funds. They're getting offered literally hundreds of millions, and they say no thank you, because we want to grow slowly and healthily. But it just shows what this kind of yeah, what's possible. So I really hope that other countries would follow this example. Then in Holland is also an interesting example where the state subsidizes land purchases if they are bought for ecological purposes. So depending on the level of ecological use, then of course, you know, it's locked in basically, you know, then this land can only be used in a certain kind of ecological way. They subsidize land purchases by up to 70%. And yeah, I still think actually that the hurdles for crowd investments for small projects, I mean, this, what I, you know, let's say you need to raise 200,000 euros, then to create this kind of 3-page investment paper, it still costs 3,000 euros. That's still a lot of money. And I think it could be done more easily for maybe for certain kind of categories of companies or so on. But my main point here is number one, we need to create incentives for citizens to make their money available for eco-social investments. Because, I mean, let's think about the philosophy of taxes. What is tax money? Tax money is donations, right? We collectively as a community, we decide, we donate money so that the state provides things that the market does not provide, right? So infrastructure, schooling, education, healthcare, and so on. This is tax money that we collectively as citizens, in some countries you have more participation to decide on this, in some countries you have less. In Switzerland, you can actually vote on how much tax you want to pay. I know in other countries it's not like that, but it is, if you think about it from a philosophical standpoint, it is donation money, right? So if you have a private initiative that fulfills a goal that serves society as a whole, which is clearly something that ecological agriculture is doing, then why should people and citizens not be able to deduct that from their taxes, right? It doesn't make sense that you actually pay taxes on an investment where you're not getting any return. You're actually furthering a cause which all of society benefits from. Yeah, that's it. I have put here the upcoming events. You can see for the next 4 months, there's going to be events like this. And of course, here our website, and we're present in all social medias. Yeah, feel free to follow us. And on our website, you will find an English document that has all of the information in it, and you can also subscribe to our newsletter. And of course, I would be happy if you also become a member of the cooperative. So now we have 5 minutes.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas, for sharing your knowledge. I think there's only 1 or 2 last questions. Clara, do you have an overview? I think only Tony had.
Yes, I cannot identify the questions right now. So
I think Tony did ask that in Spain, we have a study on the importance of following the 20 golden rules of crowdfunding. One of the rules says you have to get 30% of the funding in the first 7 days of the start of the campaign to reach 100%.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. I said 20% in the first 3 days, 30% in the first 7 days, something like that, yeah.
There was a question about the video, where to show them. Okay, yeah, there was one question also, how you disseminated the video, you know, for the crowdfunding. Like, where was it regional shown, or was it a national campaign, or what was your target scope?
So the target scope was very regional. Basically, I tried to get as many faces into the video as possible. So customers of the farm, members of the CSA, and so on. And even if it's just for a short second, then they feel like, you know, they're really a part of this, and they want to show their friends and family and so on. So yeah, and for all of our campaigning, it is very, very super regional. We do almost no national kind of communication, which I guess we could do more. Maybe that would be better, but we don't do it.
Okay, as long as there are no further questions, I would like to thank everybody being here. Thank you, Thomas, for presenting, for blocking your time for us. And yeah, I hope I hope that we will see a lot of crowdfunding campaigns for access to land in the years to come. I think it's a great way not only for getting money, but also to spread the message or spread our narrative, how property can also work in the case of farmland. Yeah, that are my closing words. Thank you, and stay tuned for the next webinars. And feel free to ask every question to me or Thomas.
Yes.
I can also make a link between participants and Thomas if wished.
Feel free to reach out anytime. Have a nice evening.
Yes.
Thanks. Bye. See you.
Good to see you.